Joe Kinsey. You can find him at Joe Kinsey EXP, and he'll be ready to roll with you there. He's been doing great work for us at OutKick. A lot of different stories to hit. But let's start here. Do you buy stocks on Robinhood? Have you gotten caught up in the stock buying frenzy that has taken over the internet?
Clay, I'm not a Robinhood guy. Listen, I'm not caught up in it. I love watching this war that has broken out. These Reddit people. Who in the world are these Reddit people, by the way? They're just attacking these stocks, buying them up, attacking the hedge funds. This is old school internet. I love to see this.
All right, so I'm fascinated by it on so many different levels because for people out there who haven't been paying attention to this story, basically GameStop is sort of the focal point, although there's a lot of different stocks that have been in the same sort of universe. They have decided to find stocks with high levels of short interest. And if you're out there listening to me right now, not that I'm a financial expert by any stretch of the imagination, but you can buy a stock and be long it, believe in its long-term future, or you can short it and basically be betting against it. And so if you're betting against it, a lot of times you have to cover your position, which can drive a stock soaring infinitely higher. And these Reddit forums are deciding as a group, hey, we're going to all go buy this stock. And the stock market is open to all, although there's some different wrinkles now with the Robinhood app shutting down and not being able to buy stock and all these different angles. And so there's been all this crazy speculative excess where stock prices have basically exploded, not in any way connected to the fundamentals in any way of the business itself, but just based on, hey, everybody's deciding to create their own bubble. And it's turned into a massive story. Now, in a general sense, this makes me think that we're headed towards, if you're old enough, Joe, to remember, I was talking to Dub off the air. He doesn't really remember it. But you remember back in the day, I bet, around, the internet explosion, when the internet was just starting, if you said, hey, we're going to be selling anything on the internet, immediately the stock just went like crazy. And there were all these companies founded that were trading on the internet that didn't have any revenue at all. And then the .com crash happened, and most of them ended up in bankruptcy.
Absolutely, Clay. It would have been like dogtreats.com or
Pets.com is one that a lot of people remember. Like, they had no business. They just had the domain name. And honestly, a lot of these companies, like the idea behind it was, hey, the internet's going to fundamentally transform everything. And so you need to be investing in the internet as aggressively as you possibly can. And by the way, they were right? Like, if you had just not paid attention and you'd been like, hey, I think this Amazon thing is going to be a big deal. I mean, you'd be worth tens of millions of dollars if you just put all of your money into Amazon and gotten out of the way. There have been a bunch of big winners, Google and the like, but everything was going up, and it was just like a speculative excess. And then the bubble popped, and there were a lot of people who lost a ton of money.
Yeah, Clay, I was around for that. Listen, I'm pro chaos. I know it's going to hurt some people, but I'm pro chaos. Content creators all over the place. These guys are popping up on social media. They're claiming to be leaders of the Wall Street Bets Reddit account. I love the chaos. This is what we needed. We don't have football this weekend, so we need some chaos. This is going to pump us right into the weekend. So I love it.
We are talking with Joe Kinsey. All right, there's a bunch of different stories that have been out there. Let's start here. We now know that there have been all the NFL head coaching jobs have been filled. Where does this rank on the chaos list? I mean, it's never as exciting as, say, the Tennessee coaching search or college football searches. But 7 NFL coaching jobs filled. Anything jump out to you in a big way?
Well, Dan Campbell in Detroit, he's Mr. Chaos.
Yes.
That's definitely chaos. Who's the guy in Philly? I don't know who that guy is, but I saw him do a Zoom call is his name Nick Sirianni or something like that?
I think that sounds right. I really don't know who he is either. I mean, a lot of these NFL coaches are relatively anonymous assistant coaches, and then they suddenly get the promotion to be the big guy, and most people have never heard of him.
Yeah, that's my thing is I'm having trouble getting all their bios down. So I'm just going to stick with Dan Campbell. He's my guy. He's loud. He's brash. He wants kneecaps bitten off. So that's my guy. I love that hire.
So we haven't had so far, at least that I've seen. You remember a couple of years ago when Brian Flores got hired and you had a couple of the blue checkmark brigade out there immediately be like, oh, I'm sick of all this racism. And they thought Brian Flores was not black. Like they literally hadn't taken the time to actually even Google his name. They just assumed he was a white guy. And then, do you remember that? Like, I can't even remember. There were a bunch of different, writers and reporters in the world of sports media that were complaining about that. And then lo and behold, oh, he's actually a black guy. And they had to delete their tweets and pretend that they hadn't been complaining. But so far, I don't think we've had any massive viral swings and misses in terms of quick reactions to the coaches, right?
Well, now Jameel Hill,
Jamel. Yes.
Jamel. They were fired up last week. Not enough black coaches hired, not enough black assistants hired. So there were some rumblings, but the stock market took over all that.
Took over all the storylines. Yeah.
Yeah. So
it took over all the trending topics. Jamel lost. Does Jamel have a take on Robinhood and like GameStop and stuff like that? She's got me blocked, so I can't see.
There's got to be some sort of racial angle she can take to that, but she was overrun by Reddit. Reddit and stocks just have eviscerated all the normal hot takes out there.
Which, to be honest, actually I appreciate because there's not some identity politics, at least not that I've seen, laden component to whether or not you can buy GameStop stock. All right, couple of different stories I want to hit you with here that you've been writing about. You wrote about the best and the worst cities for golfers, and I'm assuming that got a lot of attention because people get so fired up. Where are the best and the worst cities for golfing? Were there any big surprises to you on the list?
Well, I have New York City ranked third best in the country.
Seems surprising.
For golfers, best cities in the U.S. New York City is number 3. Now, I looked into what that all means, and New York ranks extremely high for a city to get lessons. So these guys must go into some warehouse in New York City, and they're doing lessons. So they rank really high for golf lessons. All these rich guys, all these Wall Street bankers are going in and getting their golf lessons. So New York City somehow snuck into number 3. Other than that, on the top list, the top 10, Arizona and California dominant, as you would expect, and Las Vegas at number 5. So that makes sense too. Based on climate, you can play all year round.
All right. You are, and I got distracted because I was looking at one of your articles, and by one of your articles, I mean Michaela Maroney is back. So you are the king of kind of keeping tabs on who is dominating the social media universe. We talked about Paulina Gretzky, Selma Hayek. Now Michaela Maroney, who won gold all the way back in 2012. She's 25-year-old retired gymnast. People have been in love with Michaela Maroney for a really, really long time. I think, wasn't it Michaela Maroney? Was it in 2016? What was the year when she had like the disgusted face on the medal stand? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I think that was 2012.
Is that when she really became a superstar? Was 2012?
Yes, it was. Yes, gold overall with the U.S. team. Yep, that was her.
So people have been in love with her for a while, but now she is back on Instagram, and I'm scrolling through and looking at your report. She is joining, Kate Upton, Selma Hayek, I noticed lately Elizabeth Hurley. A lot of the old school, big-time, early internet stars are starting to, kind of flex on some of these young Instagram models that have been trying to steal their shine.
Yeah, Clay, this is a big storyline in 2021. Are the old timers, the OGs of the world that are coming back now, and they're like, listen, I'm taking back what was mine, and all these girls that are promoting iced tea and stuff. I don't, they're overrunning. They're like Reddit overrunning Jamel Hill. These old schools like Michaela Maroney are coming back. They're getting their titles back, and they're like, listen, I did this before any of you, and I'll do it even better, and here they come. Liz Hurley, 55 years old.
Yeah. Selma Hayek's 53, right? What is she, 53, 54? Yeah.
Yeah. So Liz Hurley revealed this week that her 80-year-old mother took the shot of her barely clothed in the snow. This is insane.
Was Elizabeth Hurley dating or married to Hugh Grant? Is that when she initially became famous?
I think so. I thought that was how it all became, that was the big thing.
That was like 30 years ago, right?
At least.
Yeah, that's amazing. All right, the Bills, obviously, their great run came to an end in the AFC Championship game, but you found a Bills fan who spread her father's ashes during the AFC Championship game?
Yeah, quickly, the story is that her dad was he was originally from Western New York. He was going off to Vietnam, Clay, and part of his training was in Kansas. So he goes to Kansas, he becomes a Chiefs fan, comes back from Vietnam, goes back to Buffalo to live, and he's a Chiefs fan. Well, his daughter becomes just a huge Bills super fan.
Because she grew up in New York. He was a Kansas City fan, but she became a Bills fan growing up there. So they had different teams, different allegiances.
Right, and they had this plan that they would go back and see the Chiefs and Bills when the Bills got good. Well, now the Bills are good, but Dad died in 2019, just before the Chiefs won the Super Bowl. So she goes to the AFC Championship. She's wearing her dad's ashes. And, the game's out of hand, and she says, now's the time. She releases the ashes in the aisle in front of her seat, and peace out to her dad.
So how does she wear the ashes? When you say wear the ashes,
like one of those vials that you wear around your neck.
Oh, okay.
And so she has the ashes in there, and she opens it up, and she dumps the ashes out.
This is actually, I didn't realize this, but I read a big article. There are a lot of people, for instance, that want to spread their heirs' ashes. I guess not their heirs, their mom and their dad, their grandparents, whoever it might be. One of the most popular places in the world to do this, can you think, or I'll say the United States, where would you think would be one of the most popular places for people to want to do this in the United States?
Disney World.
That's right. Disney World and Disneyland. No, 100%. What? Huge issues with people coming and depositing their loved ones' ashes. Now, they'll try to do it secretly because technically you're not supposed to do it. But it is one of the most, I think it's the most popular place, in terms of a public, I'm sure like the beach, land that your family might have owned, whatever. Like those, I'm talking about like a public place where you would have to go through security to get in and do it. It's wildly popular for people to do that at Disney World and at Disneyland.
Well, I'm heading into the weekend on a hot streak. I need to gamble a little bit. And,
yeah, you nailed it. That was a good guess.
I nailed it.
All right, so a couple of other stories that you've been writing about at OutKick, and we're talking to Joe Kinsey at Joe Kinsey EXP is where you can find him on Twitter. You can go read his work at OutKick. Lots of fun stories designed to make your day go a little bit hopefully more enjoyable than it otherwise would be. Patrick Mahomes obviously has been dominating, but he has got a brother and his pregnant fiance, and they are incredibly active on Twitter. And you find them to be, on TikTok and like Instagram and all these places, and you find them to be insufferable. Why?
Clay, I cannot stand these two. I'm calling on Tom Brady to humble Jackson Mahomes and Brittany Matthews, pregnant Brittany Matthews, with a giant rock from her $500 million fiance. These two just scream and act like complete idiots. Complete idiots, Clay. Right in the suites at Arrowhead Stadium. They're screaming and flailing their arms around like maniacs. and I am so sick of it. These two need to be humbled. God,
25-1 in the last 26, so they've had a lot of excitement and enjoyment as Kansas City Chiefs fans.
Oh, it's time to humble these two, Clay. I can't take it. I'm calling on people to join the movement, join the boycott of Brittany and Jackson Mahomes, this annoying TikToker. He's like 20 years old, acting like he's 10, and I need this to stop at the Super Bowl, Clay. It ends now.
By the way, speaking of the Super Bowl, where would you rank, I believe, the heiress to the Kansas City Chiefs, ownership, Gracie Hunt? What's her story? She's young. She always is active. I know you've written and talked about her some. She's obviously very attractive. Does she have a boyfriend? She's single, right? Like that's a pretty big catch, is to be potentially able to date the hot girl who will one day inherit the Kansas City Chiefs franchise. Because most people out there probably not going to make enough money to buy an NFL franchise, so your better chance might be to marry into a family that already has an NFL franchise.
Clay, great story from last year. Gracie Hunt, she used to date.
By the way, how old is she?
She's like 21.
Okay. I just want to make sure she wasn't like 17, because you never know with all these Instagram accounts and everything else, and then people are going to be like, she's 17. She's not that old. She's 21. Is she in college?
She's 21, 22. She's in college. Yeah.
Yeah. So she's active on social media and really popular, right? Not surprisingly.
Yeah, absolutely. And by the way, guys on OutKick cannot stand her. They're tired of her. But it's one of those things. It's a lightning rod. Gracie Hunt is a lightning rod. So we're going to cover. We're gonna promote Gracie Hunt because some of these guys hate her. It makes them click, Clay. But anyway, Drew Lock used to date Gracie Hunt, right?
Oh, the starting quarter. I didn't know that. The starting quarterback for the Denver Broncos used to date the daughter of the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yes.
That is a heck of an AFC West rivalry there. Now, were they dating when he was the starting quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs? Of the Broncos?
The relationship ended, and it was more or less like, can't do it.
Yeah.
Can't do it. Can't beat the quarterback
It's like the Montagues and the Capulets. You can't cross that those franchises.
Incredible storyline. So whenever Drew Lock goes back to Kansas City, it's Drew Lock versus the heiress. So that is the story with Gracie Hunt. Was the Drew Lock thing was great.
Did she go to Mizzou? Is that how they knew each other? She was like a student there, and he was a student there. Do we know?
I don't know. I think she goes to SMU. But
okay.
The Hunt family lives in Dallas, and they fly up to Kansas City on their private jet for everything. They don't mess with Kansas City. They just visit on game weekend.
I gotcha. I didn't know.
So I think they have a Texas connection. Anyway,
I gotcha.
Gracie is now, Super Bowl heiress, going to another one. So guys, it's time. Slide into the DMs, shoot your shot with Gracie Hunt.
All right, this is the final story that I'm going to hit you with because I saw this. A 35-year-old man named Charles Majawa died in Malawi in a really difficult but also bittersweet way. How did he die?
Yeah, Clay. Charles, he was, just to put it bluntly, he died of excessive orgasm.
I didn't know this was a way to die.
Yeah, I looked it up. Johns Hopkins says, yeah, it can happen. Not very common, but you can die by orgasm. So he hires a hooker. He's 35. Time to hire a hooker. He died in excessive sweetness, is how the local newspaper put it. So they put it on the obituary that it was excessive. Excessive sex led to the brain just started exploding with blood vessels. Pour one out.
This, I got to say, a lot of people out there with teenagers, maybe you want to share this article. You're worried about them. They got a new boyfriend. They got a new girlfriend. Convince them that they might die if they think about having sex. Just tossing it out there. If you got a 16, 17-year-old been locked up for a long time, you're nervous about the boyfriend or the girlfriend. This story on OutKick, not saying that terrifying them that they might die to sex is a go-to move, but I think it might be a useful move. I just tossing it out there, terrify them.